Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for today. And this one I'm going to be looking at and talking about the changes that happened to Grail specifically in Fractured God Sphere Elite over the past few days. And unfortunately how that's led to pretty much anyone being able to get the Grail no death feat. This took us like a few attempts and pretty much walked into this is basically just a group of EU friends. I've switched to Quantum, as you can see. This was an attempt where we were gonna, Pony was gonna try to legitimately go after the no death feats, because that's what we have left to do. And I was going Quantum to have Oblivion to deal with the ads, just as so I believe in the ads. And the munitions DPS would big gun single target, so that was the thought process behind that. And it hadn't been Quantum in quite some time, so now I'm DPSing on the EU server, it affords me the flexibility to switch powers more frequently, where I have to stay certain powers, well, Earth specifically on the US side, so I can do my in-depth guides where I can switch kind of just really quickly on the EU. So you guys get to see some Quantum footage on single target. Quantum single target is not too shabby at all. In this fight, I don't have the claw buff and the tetra buff that I would have running with Pony, because we have Nuke as our buff troll, and he's great for buffing might, that's for sure. So I think when I'm running with him, I'm usually sitting at about 109 or 110,000 might buffed. So that's with like Nitro, Omega, and everything. So that's why those, like in that previous video with munitions, you're seeing me always parse like 70s, 80s with munitions. So yes, Quantum can still do that. It's just that I don't have those. I'm missing the 10,000 might from the buff and the 7% buff from Claw. But still, you'll see Quantum is not shabby at all. The only thing with Quantum is that I find that it's a bit too pure single target, which isn't a bad thing. So really the only AoE damage I have is that the explosion and the dots from heat vision and the dots from lift, which is fine because I mean the dots from lift hit like a truck. So gravimetric field and obviously the finisher and the heat vision beam and lift at the single attack of lift is all heavy single target, which is perfectly fine for the setup. You don't have to have that much of a mix of AoE. The only thing I changed on this for the last boss fight, Robot Psychic is useless on Zeus because he keeps dying to the storm, so I've just switched in like Distortion Wave for a bit more AoE damage on the ads. But that's really all it is. So talking about the fight itself, what changed is that now that basically there's no bug at all with the Grail fight. That's the issue. So before, technically there were bugs, basically since the release of this on live server to now with the augments. So basically if you had one augment, you could survive the execute, which means that if you fail a damage check, you get that Omega Beam with the execute that you can't avoid. Well, that was... Now you can block it, but back then you got hard stun, you couldn't avoid it. So if you had one augment, you're fine, but if you had two augments, like two level 23s, it worked in reverse. So basically two augments acted as one, and one augment acted as two. So people are still dying with two augments. So they corrected that, but at the same time of correcting that, you also weren't supposed to get hard stunned by the execute beam. So now you can block it, and not that you really need to block it with two augments anyway, because you take no damage. I think I get hit by it in the footage here somewhere, and I wasn't blocking. I just kind of standing still, and it dinged my health for a little bit, and then it obviously instantly healed. So there's a number of contributing factors to making this fight really easy. Some of it has to do with the fight itself. Some of it has to do now with the new artifacts for healers. Page of Destiny and the purple healing ray are just so incredibly powerful for healing, where you can take a hit, like say on the bracers, like the bracers hit me for like 100k or something like that. If you miss it, you're gonna get healed back instantly for the 100k because of the page proc. So it's just, that's one of the contributing factors. But the largest thing with this fight was the change to the augments. So now augments are working correctly. Now that the Grail execute doesn't stun you. Now basically if you fail a damage check, it adds a dot to you, which I mean the problem with that is that there's nothing. When you fail an execute, there's no damage around you, because like you look how stationary we are. So at the end it gets a little bit dicey, obviously with the axes and rage, and the axes are everywhere, but really when stuff goes wrong, there's nothing around you. Like there's no axes near you, there's no gravity pools, so really there's no risk of taking any extra damage, so that dot is completely mitigated, either by a shield or by healing. So what is the issue is that now Grail basically is farmable. I think I'm about to get hit by the execute here, because you'll see at the end of the feat we get the no death feat, and we get the Omega Pardon feat. It's one of the Omega feats. So when was that? The Grail Execute hit me for 108,000k, but I instantly was healed back because I had the page proc on, and nothing else is proccing page. So the healers consistently have a full stack of what is it? Is it offering stacks to the page? Whichever the stacks are called with page. But they have a full stack to them because I'm not getting hit by anything else. You know, I'm not getting hit by axes. I'm not getting hit by like any kind of random dot. I'm not getting hit by aggro. I'm not getting hit by ads. So the issue is that the page is just sitting max stacks on me, and then eventually when I do get hit, I'm basically healed back to full. And then there's enough time for me to take no damage that I'm going to get all the stacks of page Destiny back. So that's one of those things where, yeah, it's really hard to balance for artifacts, especially with the 2 healer ones being that powerful. And then it's hard to balance around like a bug healer giving you consistent supercharge. It makes for difficult balancing. But the issue now is that Grail is just basically farmable. Like, there's no reason why anyone, well, with augments, I should say that augments are the contributing factors here to making this fight easy. If you had no augments, or the augments weren't tied to the execute, then that would be fine. I understand their need to make augments attractive to be able to be sold, because the augments are such a high dollar value, either from the marketplace or for the broker. They're a huge part of the economy in terms of selling them, how expensive they are. So basically the biggest moneymaker right after the OP catalysts are pretty much the augment catalysts. They're always going to be consistently, like on the US side, like anywhere from like 5 mil, 6 mil each, 8 mil, stacks of like 15, 20 million. So you could make a lot of money off them. And you can buy them from the marketplace, so you can basically just max out your augments day one. So that's the issue. Clock Tower Elite had the same thing. So Clock Tower Elite, if you didn't have an augment, you took like a consistent like 20k dot throughout the entire last fight. So if the entire group is taking a 20k dot, I mean, that adds so much more difficulty to the fight, because if you screw up like with the drones proccing, if you get hit by the pools, if you get close to a person with another the opposite color and you arc damage towards them, along with that 10k 20k dot on you the entire time, that adds up and it could cause a death. So I understand that augments are so powerful. I think the only augments that weren't were, I'm pretty sure it's the Justice League Dark ones. It was crit based, so basically the first tiers, instead of giving you like 6% mine, 3% mine, whatever, it was crit based. And you got the Dark Robins. Not that the Dark Robins spawned that much, not that the Dark Robins did any damage, but I mean, those were the augments that you could say were useless. They had zero effect on the game whatsoever. And now we're back to having augments that are basically like, you could say, yeah, obviously they are pay to win, because if you have your augments leveled, it's impossible to fail this fight. Like, there's no reason why anyone, any pug group, anyone should lose to basically Grail with max augments. Because as you can see in this group here, we're like, obviously we have the damage, but we're not even trying to coordinate orbitals or pets or supercharges on Grail's execute phases. We purposely fail them to get the feat, which you'll see, at least for me, pop at the end. So there should be, like, the entire mechanic for this fight is focused around getting the Grail damage execute. So Grail's in damage check phase, you have to do a massive amount of damage in like 6 or 7 seconds. And then if you pass it, Grail gets knocked back and she does her mega orbitals and everyone dodges them. So you saw that in my previous video of me clearing it. So that's the mechanic. That should be what we focus on. Like bracers, you block and don't damage. Mind control, you break out the players. And the damage phase, you basically stop her attack. You interrupt it just like you would in the solo. But now with augments, it's basically, that mechanic is gone, literally gone. You can fail each and every one. You can completely ignore it. You can drop orbitals whenever you want on ads. You can drop orbitals at the start. You can still do supply drops during that phase. You can't during the other phases. So it's become so trivialized that becomes the issue. So hopefully we can get some tuning adjustments to this shortly, because last boss is bugged. There is an actual bug with it, but that's being corrected on Tuesday. So basically, as you're hearing this commentary, Tuesday would be August the 11th. So those will be adjusted then. So hopefully we can get some adjustments to first boss in that time as well. Because right now it's just, right now the raid falls into the same kind of category as other raids, where you have a first boss that's easy, that you farm for renown to get max renown, and the last boss is difficult. Like the last boss is like the gatekeeper basically. And I say gatekeeper because Obsidian's the gatekeeper. Shout out to my last video. So The biggest example of that was Throwing the Dead. So Throwing the Dead, you could do the judges. Technically, they were a little bit hard, but you couldn't do last boss. So basically, you queued up, did the first boss with the essence because it was super easy. You just separate Grail. You go in through 3 tanks. Separate the essence from the ads, and then you attack Ares. So you had 3 tanks. It was basically unfailable. Then you got Renown for that. You could get Renown for the judges, except the purple ore that track people caused a lot of deaths. But you couldn't beat last boss. So just basically give up, recycle, repeat. And then the issue now is that because there's only 2 bosses in this raid, not 3, you get boosted Renown for doing the first boss. So you get 200 Renown for beating Grail. So you can just keep farming first boss for Grail, use a booster, and you're going to be at 6,500 Renown in no problem. Yeah, you're going to burn through a lot of replays, but I mean, I don't think people really care. They're going to get their full Renown. They're going to be able to buy the elite set, the elite gear. Obviously, they'll have probably 3 or 4 skill points extra, because you can get the flower feat in elite. You could get the no death feed. You could get the fail every execute. You could even get the pass every feed if you pass every damage phase if you wanted, because you could just farm orbitals just for that feed, because you know you're not going to die either. So basically, at this point in the video, this is about the only time that you can die right now, when Grail's at like 5%, 1%, 2%, because this is another mind control phase. The axis is enraged, so there's limited spaces to move, but you can still see there's plenty of space. So Holy Grail, so no death feat. What's the other one pop? Bathing in Omega, that's the one where you fail every damage check. So there it is, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Hopefully we can get some proper changes to Grail to bring back the difficulty and the risk in this fight.